Muted. Sorry. Hey everyone, hello. Hope you're having a great day today. I am Manya, and today we will be doing a technical stream on animation in JavaScript. So hope you all are excited for it. Before we get started, make sure to check in for the event at the link that's given right here. Make sure to go there, register if you haven't, and then just check in for the event. Hey everybody. So just a quick overview of what we're going to do. So we're going to try to do animations and we're going to use the library for it. We're going to use React specifically to run all our animations on. So I know a lot of you, if you're doing front end, you know, like React is one of the most popular front end frameworks. So I thought it'd be a good idea to just like try to do animations on it using a popular animation library. Let me know if you all have any experience with React, and if not, let me know if you have any experience with JavaScript, and we can try to do something a little bit focused on JavaScript too then. Good to see that there are some yeses here. There are some experiences with JavaScript. Good to know that. I'm also looking for some no's if that's the case, and we can then also try to see how to run animations on just plain JavaScript. So yeah, we'll get started very shortly. Just want to make sure that everyone's sort of coming in here and has checked in for the event. No experience with React but learning JS. That's absolutely fine. Because I will start with React, I hope that this is going to give sort of an introduction into what React looks like and sort of maybe makes you familiar with it. A lot of it is quite similar, so they're not like, it's not completely like a different universe, but there are a bit of like new concepts that React has on its own that might come across as new to you, but overall it should like all look very familiar. Good to see more experience. It's okay, Ayush, if like you don't have experience there. I'll maybe try to see if we can do things that are not on just React.js but also like on JavaScript itself. So yeah, that will be that. Okay, so I have a code sandbox here. If you all want, you can join the same code sandbox as me. This is where we are at. And I would prefer that you all try to create a sandbox of your own. So the great thing about Code Sandbox, let me show you over here, is that if you go here and if you want to try to create a new sandbox of your own, right? You can just like pick one of their templates. They have everything set up, so you don't have to worry about, you know, oh my god, I don't have React on my system, I've never worked with it before. Not a problem. You can just click on React and it's going to build like a basic React project which has all the dependencies that you need on there already, so you can just use that. So while this is the sandbox that I have here, and obviously I will share a link to this, just give me 1 second. There we go. And voila. So yeah, this is the code sandbox for all of you. If you want to like just, you know, join the same one and see, you know, what I'm doing and like just copy code from there. But yeah, please like do go ahead and try to create a sandbox of your own. So what we're doing here is we will just try to run different kinds of animations on this particular div that we have here, on different events and everything. And the library that I've recently found, like I recently tried working with it and I found it to be quite user-friendly, very interesting to work with, and that's Framer. So Framer, if you all have like ever worked with it before, also like Framer has a motion library which helps with animation. But Framer at the same time also lets you just create websites or mobile apps even, mobile shaped websites, yeah, on their platform, which is pretty easy to use. So if you're ever looking to like build a very quick prototype of a product that you want to like show someone, you know, just like do some beta testing to see if that idea would sell, Framer is actually a great tool for that. I really love them for it. But yeah, here you have this motion library, and we'll be trying a few examples from here. And I think animating divs is a lot of fun, and I hope you all find the same too. Great that that's done there. So yeah, let's get started. So basically the first step that we want to do is just take this package, like we try to get started with it, and we want to add it as a dependency. So how you would go about doing it on your regular project if you were not in Code Sandbox was you would do, if you're using npm to manage your packages, you do npm install framer motion, and if you're using yarn, then you do yarn add framer motion. And if you are on Code Sandbox, what you do is right here there is an option for you to add dependencies, and here you will try to select framer motion and you will add the dependency. You can see I've already added that, so I'm not going to do that here. So that's the first step. We do that. Right now here I've created this gradienty background. I don't know, to like make it look pretty-ish, though the gradient is a little bit off. But yeah, so we create the gradient here in the style sheet. I've put it on the whole body itself. Just had a few things here, and then I've created this div here with a square so that we can try to move this div around and do things with it. Again, there is the styling for it. You can just like copy from here if you want to. Yeah, so that's pretty much like the beginning of where we're going to start from. And the first thing then what we want to do is just import this object called motion from our library framer motion. So we do that. And then the great thing is that you can take this motion object and you can turn any object that you have in your code, any HTML code here, it can be changed to a motion object. So that means that if I have this div and if I say motion.div and similarly make this motion.div, it means that, this div can now be animated quite easily. Like you just now tell it that now you just give it instructions on how you want it to animate, and it can do the work. It can now animate. So that's easy. And let me show you. So now if you're here and let's say we want to animate this object, so now we can, so basically, I skipped a little bit ahead. What putting motion.div here lets us do now is use all the props that are given to us by motion into this div as well. So now we can use all the props that you could apply on a div as well as the props that you could apply on a motion. So for anyone who's new to React and does not know what a prop is like an attribute. And like right now we can see it as an attribute that you can apply to this element. So usually if you're just working with JavaScript, HTML, you can, always you can do things like style or like on click, on pressed, all of these things apply here too. And there, when you create your custom components in React, you can also define other kinds of props that a component can take and the properties that that's going to set then. So now since we have motion props as well, we will use the animate prop. And let's say that we want to tell it that to animate it, we want to shift it to the right. I want to shift it to the right by 100. So, that's the animation that's going to create. And let's say we want to move it diagonally. And we also want to say that move it towards if you want to move it diagonally towards the southeast. If you want to move it like that, we also want to move it from the y-axis to the bottom. And for that we will do 100 here, and we can see that it has moved its location, it's animated, but the animations right now all happen by themselves, and it's not like there is some motion, like there's some action that is triggering those animations. So because we haven't put anything here yet, there are no conditions or values to it, we just are telling it to animate. Now let's look at more things that we can do with motion. So let's take a look at the examples here, right? There's this one example that I really like and I want to try to do it in different ways. So let's come here in the examples. And is any one of you familiar with animating things on Flash or the new software that's called Adobe Animate? Have any of you done any kind of animation before on any platform, maybe even like PowerPoint? Any animation experience out here? Or like Premiere, After Effects, like name your poison basically. Okay, so Okay, you have. That's good to know. So people who have done animations before would be more familiar with the concept of keyframes. And if you've not done that before, well, let's understand what keyframes do. So that's perfect. Yeah. That's pretty good. I mean, animation's a cool thing to learn. So if you wanted to learn it, I mean, it's a good thing, good skill to have. It makes, especially as a web developer, we don't like, I especially haven't used a lot of animations in my projects before. And after seeing libraries like Framer Motion, it just makes me want to like incorporate it in my web applications to make it look more smooth and aesthetic in general. So what keyframes do is basically, as you know, like when let's say we talk about it in the context of a video, right? So we know that for videos, we have 24 frames per second generally, or it can be 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, which means that there are 60, or say in the case of 24 FPS, you have 24 instances of the image taken per second. And what keyframes that you do is, you select a stop, like say after 1 second, 2 seconds, so maybe like 48 frames later, you put stops, and you can like change things in those stops. So wait, let me show you something that is keyframe animation. There are also keyframe animation movies which are like really cool. Let's see if I can get a video of it. Maybe not straight off the bat, but okay. So let's say, okay, when we were young, we would try to do like this keyframe animation, where what you do is like, you just take pictures of the object moving. So let's say I have one object in my hand here, and I like move it in different locations, and then I like take pictures of it, and then if you put them all together, that sort of counts like an animation. Flipbook, thank you for like coming to my rescue there. Flipbook is a good example of that. So that is how keyframe animations work, that you take a point in time where you change things and things are changed from there. So like you can incrementally change things in different keyframes and create an animation that way. So we're going to try to do that using Framer. Here you can see, when in our animate property, there are a lot of things we can do. So we can scale it, rotate it, change border radius. That is actually, you can also change like background color, and there are a lot of properties out there that you can just, do it. Stop motion, that was the word. Thank you so much. My animation vocabulary is limited. Okay, so let's go here and let's see. So now, like even the XY properties, if anything, if we want to do anything in keyframes, all we have to do is we have to put them in square brackets to create a sort of array around it. So right now I'm not going to move it around XY axis. Let's try to recreate this example here and then like tweak it, because it looks really cool, right? So I'm just going to copy it from here and paste it here. So what this is doing is it's scaling it, it's rotating it, and it's changing the border radius, right? So okay, let's get here and let's do this. So here we can see that because there are 5 values each, we have 5 keyframes, and we can just try to add more keyframes. Let's say we make it bigger here, and then because we're doing this, it would be good to change it everywhere, but we could just leave it like, we could just have 6 keyframes for scaling, but not change anything in the rotate or the border radius, and that is perfectly fine on it. So let's say in rotating here, I'm going to rotate it by 45 degrees, and we want to change the border radius to 15%. So no, actually I want to make it more of a circle, so let's do 50%. So yeah, the 50% is too much of a circle. 30. And let's try to see the animation again. We need to make some sort of button. So right now it's super fast. So what we can try to do is add more things here, right? So then that increases the number of keyframes on here. Yeah, should make it a bit slower. And yeah, now if we see it again, is this. Now let's say I want to also change the property when it comes to the background color. Wait, I have to check exactly. Yes. So remember that these are similar to the properties that we have on CSS, but when we use CSS properties on JavaScript, sorry, inside of React, we don't use the hyphen format, and we instead use camel casing. So that's what happens here. Okay, we have a question here. What does scale do? So let's try to look at just what scale would do. So let's comment this here and let's go on animate. So it's going to change the size, and it basically does a scaling. So when your so when your object is just there in the original size, then the scaling of that is 1. And then if you want to make the size smaller, you take the value to be less than 1. So you can make it 0.5, 0.8, like that. And if you want to make it bigger, then you can make it 2, 3, 1.5, things like that. So it's like, how much do we want to scale X? You want to scale X by 2 times, you can scale X by 3 times, or by 0.5 times. It's just math like that. So 1, 1, 0.5, 1, 2, 3. Let's see. And yeah, so it's like, scaling things here and there, and let's make it also smaller in between. Yeah, so you can sort of have this effect here that just, you're just scaling it around. Yeah, so let's come back to this, and let's say that in the animation that we were doing, we also want to change the background color. So we now want to like move it around. So we like stick with white for a few frames, and then we say, okay, we've enough of white, we want to move it a little bit of blue, then and then we want to make it like light blue, and we want to come back to white again, and end it with pink, so it sort of merges the background. And let's see the whole thing come to, oh, it didn't work the way I thought it would. Let's see why it does not work on background color. This, by definition, it should. So let's see if we have any examples of background colors out here. Okay, let's see where we can find it. Let's go to motion and see what all properties can. Yes, the animate can take background color. Just want to see if it can actually run it in keyframes. Let's see here. Animation takes these props. Wait, these are the props. Animate to this. See where all have we used background color. Okay. Interesting how we can't maybe use it in yeah, okay. Let's also try to search maybe framework background color animation. Oh, sorry, background color animation with keyframes. Colors keyframe animation. Let's hope that this is, this is not the same framework. Wrong. Okay, so according to this, we can do it, but what is wrong here is, what is wrong according to them? Let's try to spot the difference between this command and this command, because I am lost here about the differences. Let's see, back on the stream. Is it possible to paste the code here in the chat? I mean, yes, but okay, let's see. One and I can just see a typo in their code. That's it. Like they are missing one colon. What if we try to just copy their code here and see if this works? Maybe the name type does not work and we need to put color codes. Oh, interesting. It didn't change colors. It did change colors, I mean. Yeah, so interestingly, it looks like we need to give it, do we though? No, we don't. Okay, no, we do. For some reason it doesn't work with, but let's see if it works with hex codes. Like if I don't want to use HSL. Oh yeah, it does. So moral of the story is that we can't use direct like names that we use in CSS sometimes for ease of use, and we instead have to use like color codes. So it can be hex, it can be HSL, you can use RGB, anything like that. Yeah, I also thought, yeah, I think they were probably trying to correct that too. But yeah, that is how we can also animate color. So okay, let's see. Now we should try to use this animation, but have a sort of trigger as to when we want to animate this, right? Or we can also first look at like the different instances on which we can animate. So let's say if we just tap on this object, or if we hover over it, we want to have an animation. Because if we think of like real scenarios where we might want to animate objects in a way, we can think of, say, buttons that we are creating or menu forms that we have where we want like users to interact with things and for things to animate. So one way to do it is also to do it via CSS, but I am very lazy with CSS and I feel like I have a very hard time writing good CSS which flows smoothly, which has like good transformations and everything. And I just can't do it. So let's try to do the same thing by using framer motion so that it's easier. Right, so I'm just gonna go ahead, remove the scale of this to 0.5 and okay, cute. Let's get this to 90 so that it is sort of like rotating in similar motions, and I can just create a new motion div here. And by the way, we can apply this motion to lists also and other elements like that. And I want to make this a rounded square as well. Yep. So now we have two objects. This one the right one, we want to animate this using things like on tap and stuff. So let's go back to our documentation and see how we can use gestures, right? So like while hovering, while tapping, what do we want to happen? So let's say that I want to click it. And when I click a button first, I think we should make this a rounded rectangle, just for like, you know, if we're actually talking about buttons, might as well make it look like one. And just let's make this 50 pixels and no, so you're not a rectangle, you're not a square, you're a rectangle. Okay, rounded rectangle in here, and let's call this rectangle 2. Yes, so now closer to what a button would look like. And now let's say while hover, let's go back here, see how they're doing it. And yeah, we can scale it, we want to scale it to say make it look a little bit bigger. And it talks about a transition, which means like how long do we want it to be. And I think we can have more props here with transition. Let's give it a duration of 1. That is in seconds. So this is while I'm hovering it, it's growing. But maybe this is like a little bit too big. Let's make it just 1.1, right? Like slightly grows when you go there. And let's say I also want to change it like while tap. So here I want to scale it to be a little bit bigger, and we want to make it 1.5, right? So it sort of goes like that. And let's say here I want to when we are hovering on it, let's also try to change other things like the background color. We want to say that this is more like gray. So, but this is not the gray that we want. So let's try to make a hex code. Is anybody here good with hex codes? Okay, no change. Let's do something like E5, E5, E5. So it like slightly changed to gray. We can maybe also put a gradient on here. So let's go for, no, I think I'm being a little bit too ambitious here with what this library can do, but let's just see how far we can. I'm just going to copy the gradient that we have from here. Yeah, let us see what happens. And we want to say that this is like, we just want to do like gray to white, gray to white. Yep, there were commas here, there were commas here, and this. Oh, and it can do animate, like it can do gradients also. We did not overestimate it. Yeah. Oh, link. Yeah, definitely. Let me paste it again just in case it's not there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I am trying to be better with my typing speed. I've recently slowed down because I somehow type less and I do my university assignments more. But thank you there. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to hide this. I think we don't need this anymore. Yeah. So here it's cool that we can now hover on it and we animate it and we tap it and we animate it. But we want to see when I tap it, just go back to background color. I wanted to go back to white. So it does not do that because of the hover taking priority somehow. Let's see if we can reset that later. But for now we can do this. Let's see if what will happen if I just try to change the gradient here. So here we say, instead of gray, I want to make it blue. So, oh, so the background image property is sort of taking precedence over background color. So even if we have background color set up, it doesn't really change anything there. So yeah. Yeah, this is a horrible gradient. I'm never going to use that. So back, and yeah, a little bit of this. It's okay. Maybe we also want to make it a little bit opaque. Sorry, we want to remove a little bit of the opaqueness. So we do the opacity to 0.9. Can't see much of a difference here though, can we? Let's do 0.5 and see if this property actually works. Oh, it does work. And now it sort of merges with the pink gradient that we have back there. So yeah, cool, it works that way. So now we have tried 2 gestures. Let's see what other gestures they have to offer. So they are talking about something called variants, but we will discuss variants later. We have something called propagation, which does exactly what? Children can stop pointer events propagating to parent motion components. Okay, so this is basically like if we also try to put children inside our motion components, and we just don't want that behavior to propagate further, what are we going to do? Okay, what if we give it a color red, make it hard, and some pop-up on touching? How interesting would that look? That would look very interesting, though one problem here, I don't know how to make a heart using HTML. So that is definitely like, for that, what can be done is we can get an SVG. So we can take an SVG component and we can make that to have a motion, and then you can animate it to scale it like the same way. Yeah, so that can definitely be done. Let's see what more we want to do here. I would just want to see the left again. Okay, that works. and this works, and let's try to do more state stuff with it. So now let's go ahead with React State. And does anybody have any ideas on what kind of other user driven animations we can create? Any other conditions or situations where you'd want to use animation? Let's first create a state variable here. Let's just call this animate, is animating, set is animating, and we just use state and make this false for now. Might want to import useState from React, and voila. Okay, so is animating is set to false from the beginning, and set is animating is here, and we can just like change stuff around. So like if we have an animate object, we can control when it moves, say, up. So if it is animating is true, then it moves up, else it just stays exactly where it is. Right, so right now we can see that is animating is set here, and then what if like on click we want to just go here, do set is animating to be like just the opposite of it. So we do that, and now every time we click, the behavior is going to change. It's going to go from true, false, false, true, stuff like that. So this is a weird motion to have. Let's try something else. Changing the exposition is not the best thing. What can we do? If I could just remove this while tab here, and we could just sort of create the same thing here as well. So I could make this scaling, this 1.5 and 1. So, but like if this is the hover, and if I tap right now, it scales. And no, okay. Not the best thing to check while hover is also there, because it's also doing its own scaling. Yeah. So it's like basically we're able to change the behavior of this animation here because the animating property is changing. Again, both these examples are not the brightest examples that I could have shown. So yeah, let's look at other stuff. What other color sliding effect? That is interesting. Can you explain this a little bit, and we can try to create this here? Waves effect. Again, like, can you explain them a little bit to me? They sound like interesting ideas, but I am little confused about what they would look like. Yeah, or should I just search? What do you mean? Maybe we will find waves animation. Waves animation JavaScript. What would that look like? So like we want to create something like when we hover, then what do we want to do? Trying to understand like this. Okay, so we want it to I'm still confused. This is a full tutorial that we want to see right now. Do we want to create a waves animation like this? Sorry, I don't know if y'all can see the video, or you can. It moves up and down while moving horizontally. Okay, suddenly feel like I've been given a question in a coding interview, but let's try to do this together. All right, let's see what it has for us and how we could maybe create like a water wave animation here. Okay, so I think for that we would want to do a couple of things. Let's get this background to a neutral. So let's make it white, and then we can change these to, actually we can just let these be white. And wait, if I don't remove this from here, Let's try to create waves under it, actually. Why not? Oh, no. Don't worry about it. I was just kidding. I'm also pretty new to animation. I've not done a lot of it, but it's just fun to explore this here with all of you on stream. And it's actually a nice thing to try. Good thing is we can always take help of the internet to try to create like animations like this. So let's see what all we have here. We can use things like we don't want to go into 3D right now. Let's look at scrolling animations and what we can do. Right. So, okay, this is just a scroll triggered animation. We can actually create a scroll triggered animation for the waves. So it's like when you scroll, that is when like the waves move. So for that, what we might want to do first is get SVGs that look like waves. Because again, like I said, my CSS is not the best, so we can just copy water wave SVGs from the internet. And that is what I do when I ever need to. Yeah, so we need something that looks a bit more like a proper solid wave. JSX get waves. Wow, we can choose the kind of wave we want. This is pretty cool, I must say, guys. Like we can sort of have a whole thing here, and this is pretty cool actually. Wow, I would have never discovered this if like not for this stream, so this is quite cute. Cool. Okay, so we have the SVG right here. We can just copy this code. And now because we're copying this SVG, there is going to be one cute problem that we're going to come across. Let me discuss that with all of you. Yeah, so first, oh, this is all actually for JSX. No, so this fill opacity will actually be written like this, like I mentioned. And yep, let us, for this moment, this code. Oh wait, was this actually correct? No, it was not. Here we want to give it, what if I just don't put it inside a div for now? Yeah, we are back. And for our container, what I can do is here I can set the background color to be white, and then in the display content, and we can do flex end, so that, okay, please reside at the bottom of the screen, can you? Nope. How can we take this down to the bottom? Okay, let's see. I have this div here. This is the div container. Nothing's on the background. If I remove this, it's always somehow finding itself in the center. Okay. Usually this would work, but okay, let's just assume that that is where we are. Yeah, okay, we should now also try to add like another wave on top of it, so that would give it sort of a nicer look. And what I am now concerned about is if for animating it we try to move it towards the right, the whole image that we have needs to be bigger than what we see on the screen so that it can like keep on moving, or we can use the repeat properties of okay, so how about we go ahead and do some other searches about make a self-looping SVG, I guess. React. We are doing all of this one. No. SVG. Okay, let's look at maybe SVG animations with framer motion. let's see some SVG examples here and then try to make the similar stuff. Oh, this is cool, but not what we're trying to do. Okay, I'll just get one more wave here for us. We can make the color to be lighter, and no, that was perfect. And just like change it a little bit, make it have few less waves here, and just copy the code for it and take it up here. We want them to overlap, so okay. This is so much CSS. I need to like Google all the stuff to make sure. Yeah, I did use CSS Flex. Like, let me just confirm. Yes, the display is Flex for both of them. Okay, SVGs allow overlap. CSS, maybe just check that. How can this be overlapped? This is a duplicate question. Set the container of those items to have position relative, and for the SVGs to have an absolute position. So let us hope that this works. Position relative, and which was actually the case by default, but anyway, here for the SVG we want to style it to have position and have an absolute position. And okay, beautiful. Here again we wanted to have position, no, sorry, we will always put this under style, position, absolute, and we put these under these. And yeah, so we want, maybe we want to change the bottom wave because it should like sort of overlap with the first one. And yeah, here one more thing that we should do that would sort of fix this and make it look nicer is if we set the bottom to, okay, we do more CSS. No, what? Let me put a comma here. Okay, plus bottom is 0, and it's at the bottom like we want it to be, bottom and 0 here. So we see this overlap. Actually, this overlap is not that bad now. It looks more horrible on when it's like, yeah, little bit like that. Change the opacity. Good idea there. We should, okay, we should change the opacity of the blue, of the dark blue one, but like that would make not a lot of sense. Actually, you know what, the colors are wrong here because when something is further away then it's lighter, but that's not the case with water. Okay, the light blue one. Okay, let's just remove the opacity, like reduce the opacity for it. Let's bring it to 0.8. So yeah, interesting idea, looks better. This animation is, now we have to think about how to animate it. Now we have something on the screen that looks like a wave. Yeah, okay, so now the task is to animate this. But one more thing I was thinking before this is, yeah, maybe we can move it a little bit up. No, 0 is perfect actually. Yes. Now let's say if we were to move it to the right a little bit, so we want to make these. Now I want to try another thing is, say what if this is the parent container, right? If no, but we don't want to animate it here, so let's make this a motion SVG. Like I said, SVGs can actually be applied anywhere. So okay, okay, here let's go to the animations, and one thing that I want to see is when we are animating things, how can we sort of make it like repeat. Say if we're using keyframes, how do we like keep on repeating the keyframes, right? That's an important step. Yeah, so first let's try to see how we could loop it, or maybe let's just first put some animation here. So let's say I want to animate it and I want to change the color to Okay, so this is using this color. What if I alternate the colors of the two? And just checking if this does anything. No. So let's change the fill property. This also doesn't change anything. Let's go back to our frame or SVG animation, and let's open this example and see how they have done that, right? Oh no, don't want to copy this. We just want to see the code. Please let us see the code. Made in Framer. No, okay. Framer motion. Yes, we have a whole blog here. Good people to the rescue. Put in the motion so that the visualizing would look better. Yes, 100% trying to add there. Hi to everyone who just joined. We started with doing animations on Framer, and now we're trying to create like a wavy animation motion because I didn't plan that motion in advance. We were trying to try to see how to create it, and I think we're having fun doing that. So thanks for the suggestion. What motion, X or Y? I think we'll be moving it in the X direction. But at the same time, let's also maybe try to see if we can change colors and we can scale it up and down. So that will help us with the motion that we're trying to do. Oh yeah, actually we can do that. But I'm first little worried that the animate is not directly working, and maybe there's something that I'm not. Okay, that is working fine. So let's see. Let's create what we talked about, like keyframe motions here. We just want to keep on increasing the size instead of like decreasing it, because then it won't be like big enough for the whole thing. And then let's say gradually this decreases and it comes down like this. So we have a few things here, and now we want to move it in the X direction as well. So what we do is, let's say first it just grows big, then moves. Since it's growing big, we can move it a bit to the right, then we move it more, then we bring it back to 0, and no, here let's move it only to 80. Nope. Okay, 10, 0, then let's move it 30, 40. Let's like slowly then 1. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frames here. We have 6 here, and let's just have this on our home base. So here we can see like there's a bit of a problem that, yeah, not what we were going for definitely. So let's see how that would look if we just scaled the whole thing here by 1.5, and then we're just trying to move it in the X direction. How would that be? Okay, so we have something that like goes in that way. We have maybe make mirrors of the SVG and apply it to the matching ends of it. Can do that, or actually what else can we do? So maybe we could have a wave. No, I'm a little confused about your comment. Can you like elaborate it? Because how would making a mirror of it solve the problem in the terms of like when the size grows, like when the wave is moving, sometimes it just goes beyond the screen. Actually, right now it doesn't. Okay, let's try to take this a bit more up here. Okay, what if we actually try to make it like a gradual motion? So what I've done was very haphazarded, and then we try to bring it back. 2010. Okay, so we have this, and let's just copy the same thing but in like the opposite direction for this, right? And here we want to start, we just do like negatives for all of them, so it just moves in the different direction. Not how waves move, I understand that. And let's just make a button here to start animation, right? And let's use our cute rounded class name, we make it to rounded rectangle. We will go ahead and change color there, animate waves, and okay, we will obviously be animating our button too, like without a doubt that's happening. And yeah, so we come out here, let's do this. Oh, thank you, no worries, we will just work in one line. Then this is while hover, we go back to our old stuff, we scale it 1.1 there. Why? Oh, sorry. Okay, so we while hover, while tap, scale 1.4, and we want to change opacity, so say 0.8. Let's just make this button black, and let's change the color to be white. And oh, this is the container, wrong place, and we put it here. Here the background color was white. Let's not change that. And here the things are not centered properly, so align items to the center, and let's make this also to be flex. Okay, let's try text align center. I really dislike putting text this way. It just, yeah, exactly, when we scale the SVG is shrinking. Oh yeah, no problem, will do. Which is why I've tried to scale it up to 1.5 so that when we move it just does not go away that bad. Yeah, okay, so this is the animate wave, and let's now put some operation on it, right? Yeah, just a second, let me just see how I can fix this text, like why it's out here and not okay, text alignment, what more do we know about it? Align items, align self, align content. I have, okay, so none of them seem to be having an effect, so let's just remove it. Oh, something was having an effect. Align items, maybe, yes. And then we have aligned this vertically but not horizontally, right? Sorry, or we can try to put margin, no, padding, do an auto padding. Okay, so one last option that we have is to put the text in and here we can try to style it, text align and center. Nope, guys, I'm giving up. Anybody has any ideas for what how long would it take? Probably I'm planning to run this stream for about half an hour more, so yeah, I don't know how long this animation would take, but the stream would go on for about half an hour more. Margin 0 pixels and auto, so let's try to do that. 0 pixels for this and auto. You guys are geniuses. Thank you so much. We now have a centered text div button that we created and that animates, right? Okay, so now, okay, I would admit this is scaling a bit too much. It's scaring me. Yeah, now let's try to animate it. So on click, set is animating to be the opposite of is animating. Sorry, and we can just do this. All right. Sorry, we should never be doing it just like this. It should always be like an event handler. Okay, so here again, the scaling is something I'll just do here and not make it a part of the animation. Is animating. If that is the case, then we take you to 2, else we bring you back to 1.5, right here. And similarly, the case is here. If is animating is true, then we do this, else we give you an empty, or we just make you 0. Okay, so animate waves and stops. Okay, one more thing. Okay. I thought we have some questions here, sorry. Animate the waves. I think the animation needs to be longer, and the return that's happening is not looking the best. And yeah, there we go. Scale it more, and now let's try to animate them waves. Maybe let us see. Interesting. It's moving a little. Yeah, the light blue one is not moving because we've not put the condition there yet. So let's put it there as well. Come here, and here I am going to scale it up to 1.2. Then here I want to say is animating, and else it just stays 0. And what else would we like to change? Here I said change the fill, it didn't change the fill. What other property would it be called? I don't think in SVGs it's called background color, but let's see. Yeah, it's not background color 100%. It's usually just color. That, no. I removed the background color property. Don't do this to me. Okay, let's refresh. Yep, all right. So there is something that's happening. Let's see how we can make it like even more smoother. And now I would like to check the whole like loop thing, because that is not happening. And maybe these should move in the same direction. Let's see. Does it look weird when it doesn't? Yeah. Let's move you in the same direction. And okay, this, let's leave it at, what if I, sorry, leave this to be an empty array? Will it go back to its original place? All right, so there's some movement happening. We can leave an empty array there, that's okay. And yeah, so now what we want to do is let's just go to this blog article and see if they have something interesting for us, because I wanted to change the stroke path and that didn't happen. Oh, interestingly, you can put motion on path as well. I mean, oh, okay, maybe we can then change the stroke color from there. So here we are on the path. We also make this a motion path, and this happens. And now let's try to do the animation that I wanted there. So I try to animate this here, and the fill, I want to change that. Oh, sorry. And let's use the other color, like the darker color for this. Oh, this is the div. This is like the lighter color for this. And we just make it actually a little bit darker here, and yeah, Okay, colors are very similar, but no, we will then put the is animating property there, and if not, we move it to our OG color, which is this. Okay, now if we animate the waves, this is not a good color. Okay, let's just maybe take this. Okay, what I wanted to see is that while it's moving, if we could give it like a number of colors. I think I'm just obsessed with trying to do that, so let's do that, and let's go, like, let's just alternate between these two lovely colors. So let's copy this whole thing, paste this, and let's do this 6 times. Yes, all right. Now we try to animate them and we can see that the color is changing a little bit. So the key was to put it in the path and not in the SVG itself. I think we can make an animated movie in JS. Yes, you are very right. This is actually more effective than, say, Adobe Animate in some way. Like, I'm not underestimating the qualities of the softwares, but for programmers who don't know how to like use animation softwares and can get SVGs, this is actually more convenient, and like we can program so many things and make it simpler. But also don't forget, friends, we can also write animation scripts for all the animating softwares. But this is pretty cool. Hello, can you please share the references, resource links used to build this project? So I have shared the link to our code Sandbox. I can again definitely go ahead and share it again. And apart from that, we have used Framer here. And okay, so let's go here, and there we go. And I've used Framer here, Framer motion, so you can get that here on this link. And yes, the wave generator was actually very cool. I agree. This makes you think that what's not already there on the internet, like people are constantly thinking of pretty cool things and like putting it out there for everyone to use. So I love that. I genuinely like love this SVG creator. Plus it's like so well, it's such a simple page and it's well made and the colors look nice and everything. So that's cool. Yes, so let me just see if I'm missing anything here. Hello, how to handle the CSS grid box? Do you use any methods and or techniques? Thanks. So no, I don't use any methods or techniques. I'm actually pretty bad at it. What I always end up using is the CSS display flex, and I just use flexbox all the time. So let me just put up a link. Flexbox, yes, there's just this one page that I always go back to. This CSS tricks page. I think this is the one. Yeah, I think this is very well written as an article, and often I forget what means what and I just go back to it, and it's great. So yeah, you can always just use that. Flexbox, that's what I use. So that, what else am I missing? Gridbox questions, I already asked that, like answered that. Okay, no. Did you use any plugins or add-ons? So yes, we used dependencies and we used Framer motion that I have linked down in the comments. Did you use Bootstrap? No, I did not use Bootstrap. We're just writing our own plain CSS because Bootstrap would be an overkill at this moment. I personally am not a big fan of Bootstrap. Sorry if I'm like offending anyone. If I'm using React, I tend to just go for Tailwind CSS and just, choose to decide how to make my components and how much to style it. And yeah, it's like all my projects are just guided by Tailwind CSS's design philosophies. Yes. Right. This. Okay, waves effect. Okay, I think I've covered all the old comments, so I'm going to come back here. Hey, no problem. Like, you've actually given a great idea to like try to create it on CSS. We'll try one last thing is to just make this an endless loop. So let's see how we can do that. Let's come out back here and let's look at their examples, because they constantly keep on animating, right? So we can just open that sandbox and try to see how that's happening. Yeah, this keeps repeating itself, but the same thing doesn't happen with us. So voila, sandbox. Code sandbox is actually like a lifesaver if you think about it. Okay, yeah, so we can add an infinity loop there. So wonderful. Let's do that. Let's go here. I've copied exactly what they're doing. It goes on for 2 seconds. It eases in out. These are the times. Goes for infinity. And let's try to animate the wave. Yes. But so what is going on in infinity is the X, sorry, it's the background color, but not the X. So the motion is not going in infinity. But yeah, this was closed right now. Let's see if we can like remove the time here, the duration here, and so okay. What more we can do is we can like change the button. So change the button here, and we can say start animation or stop animation depending on whether it's animating or not. I think that makes a bit more sense than what's written here, right? So is animating, then show stop animation, and if it's not animating, then you will start animation. And yeah, so started, it's animating, and we stop animation. It makes so much more sense now. And yeah, so we do this animation. Let's add a little bit of padding here, which is just like 5 pixels. Make it all nice and cute. And we then can put the transitions on here as well. So just is animating and these transitions. Yeah, repeat delay. I want to actually remove any delay in repeat. So we can start the animation again. This is, but okay, now this has become this weird thing where it's just like going back and forth. I don't know if you guys can actually see it on your screen. Is it visible for you? Yeah. Oh, you would like to connect with me? Yes, definitely. My background, I am a computer science student right now. I'm in my final year. I mostly do web development, both front end and back end. But yeah, when I say front end development, I don't mean I'm a designer. I am not great at CSS. Yet you can see the effect of all the mishaps on the CSS here. My LinkedIn, I think you guys found it. Yes, that is me on LinkedIn. I actually prefer to share with hackers on Twitter. So if you have Twitter, my username on Twitter is manya_ag. Yeah, and that's that. I'd love to connect with you guys on both platforms. So yeah, feel free to send your request there. Okay, so let's see what's happening with this one down there, right? Like, why is it moving like this but nothing else is? Let's see if I just put a 0 there, I'll stop the animation, but the animation here did not stop. So it really makes me wonder what course of action is being taken by this little wave out there. Start animation. Okay, I'm going to refresh this and see what's up with our tiny wave. Okay, start animation, stop animation. Okay, how are you, little wave at the beginning? There you are, right? Oh, I see. I am a little bit, yeah, shouldn't have done that because we now want we want like a progression. So we are just progressing further in steps of tens. Yeah. Now I would like to see this. Okay, so the wave animation is actually repeating itself, which is why we can see more of this glitch. Transition, let's give it a duration. Let's make it last longer. Duration is 2, and yeah, so this speed is a bit better, but we haven't scaled this one enough. So if I scale it on 1.5 and from the bottom I lift it up a little bit. No. Oh, I can't see the whole thing. Okay. Bottom is supposed to be 0. Why aren't you at 0? This is... I did not notice this. I was living in my... Okay, it's animating and it's flowing. Okay, so we have... There is a bit of... Okay, maybe I think the repeat delay made sense. Let's get what it was from here. Yeah, repeat delay. Yeah, this would make more sense. And yeah, okay, now the small wave that we have is going properly. I am not a fan of this fill animation. I just wanted to test it out. I'm going to remove that. Here I think I'm going to remove the scaling in the animation. It doesn't need to animate with scaling. Right, okay, so just bring you back to 0 2, buddy. Okay, and what other thing I wanted to change here? Oh yes, this... I see. Okay, sorry, this is a little bit stupid. Now the whole thing made sense why the wave on top was not moving, which is the color was changing. Is because I put the transition settings only on the path and not on the SVG. So just gonna take there, put it there, and stop the animation. Okay, but we see that this wave is actually not stopping to animate. Okay, let's start animation. Okay, this is like super fast right now, so we want to change the duration to be 2. So now this is going to animate for just about 2 seconds, and it's going to like animate on its own. You can actually explore it more, and you can try to create, you know, on Instagram you're seeing a lot of ads of like meditation apps which like help you with your anxiety. They help with the breathing. A lot of their animations are this way, so you can try to fine tune it and remove ease and out. Yes, that is a good advice. Let's stop the animation and start it again. And yeah, and maybe if like the shape of the wave is a bit better, so I can feel more like it's just flowing instead of like the small stop that we see in between. So yeah, do the 10 to 50 and back from 50 to 10 maybe. Okay, let's do that. Actually, let's keep it at 60, then 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. All right, and let's just copy the same animation movement and put it on the other one as well. Nope, deleted the wrong one. Yes, and stop the animation and let's start it again. Okay, but more better than the jerky sort of animation we had going back then. Okay, so more other interesting things is that you can actually use the Framer Motion library to replicate a lot of how physical objects behave. So you have actually spring animations and like bounce animations that would actually feel like an actual, it actually follows the actual bouncing properties of surfaces and things like that. So you can try to create that. So let's go there in their documentation and search about it. Okay, so not the transition, just gonna try to search it. I forgot where I found it, but it's pretty cool actually. Yes, so you have things like use spring, which helps you. Let's just look at these examples actually, so we can just like play around with that. And here we can see that it is using which one of the, oh, it's using uSpring. And let's try to read the code here and see what's happening. Yeah, so I just want to first see, so okay, the whole thing is like a collection and they operate together and they always snap. And okay, we can see like the color is suddenly like it's animating by itself, it's changing there. And yeah, so now let's try to read the code that's here, right? They first created a square component and these are the props that they've set for this. So they're saying that every square requires these props, which is active, set active, a column index, row index, and x and y properties. Then we have a variable to see if the whole thing is dragging, and it is dragging if the column index is similar to the current active column and if the row index is equivalent to the current active row. Then we are calculating the diagonal index by adding the row and the column and just basically doing some math here. And then we calculate the distance, which can be calculated using the distance formula between 2 points, which gives us like the distance that it has to move. Then we are doing some Spring configurations. These are the things that basically I was talking about. It actually lets you replicate physical properties. You can provide the stiffness for it. Like right now here, it's less stiff, is more bouncy. We can try to like see how changing this would affect the motion. And then we use Spring in 2 directions, X and Y. So yeah, here in the motion we can see that we are trying to drag it, and we can also try to see this in our example, like we can try to drag our button. So by just putting this one prop here, drag, it lets you drag it anywhere. Like you can move it around and just leave it there. And it just stays there until you obviously don't refresh it. And you can define in what axis you want to allow dragging. So let's refresh this. And now you can see I can only drag it in the x-axis that I am in. And now if I were to change it to drag y, I can only drag it in y-axis, right? And there are other things you can do. You can put your drag restraints. So let's see, they put that there. There are drag constraints that how much, like, where it's like it doesn't matter where you drag it to, it's always going to come back to its original location. So we can, I'm going to close this. We can go back to our same thing here, drag, no, what's the property called? Drag constraints, yes. Drag constraints here, and we say left 0, right 0, top 0, and bottom 0. Yep. So I'm gonna refresh this because it's a bit, so yeah, no matter where you try to move it here, so it's draggable, but you just can't take it away anywhere. Again, right? Cool stuff. Exactly. We can define like how elastic it is, and then it says that when drag starts, what should you do? So this can actually be very easily used to also create more draggable components that you have in your program, and where you want to do something with the drag operation actually, and not just like play around and let it drag it. And then here we are doing some styling. The background, we are changing it based on, we're calculating it based on the base hue and then the diagonal index that we are on. That is quite cool. And then yeah, you have width, height, all of that. So this is the motion div. And now here we have our app where the div has an initial hue, you have an animation hue, which is how the colors are just like changing by themselves, right? Then we have duration, how long it should be for. It's an infinity loop, it's linear, blah blah blah. And I think we are using this, yeah, the square is here. And if this is active, the animation happens according to it. So we're setting the active, the active and set active are states and state setters that go from here, and then we're using this to change which column and which row is active. Yeah, so here you can see like the spring is in use. That is cool. And then I also said there are other things. You can also have a velocity set. So like let's look at the velocity example. And so it's like how fast I move it changes the size of it. Like right now it's like super fast, so it's very big, and when I'm slowly dragging it, then it's the same size. If I increase the speed even like the slightest bit, it starts growing in size. So it can be like changed to yes, change in the check-in link is right here. You can just use #JS animate to check in for today's event. Yeah, then there's will change and everything, but I also wanted to show like the tween and where are those things, scroll, gestures, layout. Let's see what layout has. Okay, interesting. This helps us to change the layout, but could we not do the same things? If you're not animating them, then set them via style, of course. And we can customize it using transitions within scroll containers. I see. So it's like if you're going to play with layouts or if you're going to play with scroll, it's more like desirable to use the prop here, which would be layout. So if this was like a layout object, we would just let motion know that okay, this is a layout object that we're working with, and if the layout scroll, like we did with drag here. So that's that. So yeah, folks, this is mostly what I wanted to discuss with all of you and just like walk you through framer motion. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to stick around and chat for a while. But yeah, this is the animation introduction to animation in React that I wanted to discuss. That would be more or less all on my end. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to just stick around here and chat. Thanks for everyone's help to like jump in here, help with the CSS, give ideas on how to animate it, and actually just like sitting here. So yeah, that's cool, and thanks for that. Yeah, definitely. I don't have my phone on me right now. I will end the stream and accept all the connection requests that I have. Yeah. Okay, folks. Thank you for joining. See you all in some other session. I'm around for hosting hackathons. So if you ever attend MLH, hosted by MLH events, I'll be there on the weekend, sometimes coaching. So would be just more than happy to say hi to you folks. All right, thank you. Have a good time, and yeah, see you all later.